If disaster struck tonight, would you really be ready? Think about it for a second. No excuses, no pretending. Most people aren't prepared at all. In fact, FEMA knows it, and that's a scary problem. Floods, hurricanes, power outages, even pandemics, these aren't what-if scenarios anymore. The question isn't if something will happen, it's when. And when it does, you don't want to be the one racing to empty store shelves while your neighbors are already hunkered down with everything they need. That's exactly why in this video, I'm breaking down the 10 critical emergency items FEMA says every single household must have. But here's the shocking part, most families don't even own half of them. And stick with me, because I'm also going to reveal a few life-saving tools FEMA doesn't talk about, but absolutely should. These are the things that can mean the difference between getting through a crisis in one piece, or being caught completely off guard. Now I don't say this lightly. I've spent more than a decade studying survival strategies, testing gear in real-world situations, and digging deep into FEMA's disaster playbooks. I've also seen how people actually react when emergencies hit, and trust me, what you think you'll need is not always what keeps you alive. So grab a seat, because I promise you this, I'm not just rattling off a boring checklist. There are some surprises here, and you really don't want to miss. Number 9. It's the one item hardly anyone thinks about, but it might just be the most important survival tool of them all. Quick question before we dive in. Have you noticed how fast things like bottled water, masks, or medical supplies disappear whenever there's even a hint of disaster, or how prices shoot through the roof overnight? If you've seen that where you live, drop it in the comments. Let's compare notes and help each other stay one step ahead. Alright, let's kick things off with the very first item. FEMA calls it the absolute lifeline of survival. And honestly, without it, you're finished. That item is water. Water isn't optional, it's your number one priority. FEMA recommends at least 1 gallon per person per day, for a minimum of 3 days. And let me be clear, that's just the bare minimum. Got a family of 5? That means 15 gallons, and that's only enough to scrape by, because that gallon isn't just for drinking. It also covers cooking, washing, and even brushing your teeth. Now, you don't need to break the bank to stockpile it. The easiest way? Grab a couple of gallon jugs every time you're at the grocery store. They're cheap, usually around $1, and little by little you'll build a stash without even noticing. If you're short on space, stackable water containers are a lifesaver. They're reusable, durable, and often come with spouts that make pouring simple. Perfect if you live in an apartment or small home. But here's where most people mess up. They store their water in the garage or a shed. Big mistake. Heat and sunlight can break down the plastic and ruin the water quality. Keep your stash in a cool, dark spot inside your home. And don't forget, water expires. Yes, even bottled water. Write the date on every container and rotate your supply every 6 to 12 months. And here's one more insider tip. If disaster is on the horizon and you don't have a supply ready, fill your bathtub immediately. A full tub holds dozens of gallons of water. You can also use clean bottles, pitchers, or cooking pots. Just make sure whatever you use is spotless, because in survival, dirty water can be more dangerous than no water at all. Bottom line, water is survival. Without it, nothing else on this list even matters. Let's be real, without food, you're in trouble. It's non-negotiable. FEMA ranks it right after water, and for good reason. When disaster strikes, grocery stores are the first places to get stripped bare, and sometimes you won't even be able to reach them. That's why you need a backup supply of non-perishable food, fuel to keep you and your family going when everything else shuts down. Here's the rule of thumb: 3 meals per person per day, for at least 3 days. If you've got a family of 5, that's 45 meals. Sounds overwhelming, right? But the truth is, it's easier than you think if you're smart about it. Start with the basics: canned food. Beans, soups, vegetables, tuna, chicken, chili, even canned fruit. These are affordable everywhere and last 2 to 5 years when stored properly. Plus, they don't need refrigeration. But here's a mistake many people make: they forget a manual can opener. Trust me, when the power's out, that electric one on your counter is useless. Want something more powerful? Look into MREs, meals ready to eat. These are the same packs used by the military, survivalists, and disaster relief teams. They're lightweight, sealed, and packed with calories, sometimes up to 2,000 in one meal. Many even come with flameless heaters and utensils, so you don't need to cook. Shelf life? Up to 5 years. For serious long-term prepping, freeze-dried meals are king. You've probably seen those giant buckets in outdoor stores or online. They're not cheap, but a single bucket can hold 60 to 100 servings, and if stored properly, they last up to 25 years. That's basically buy it once and forget it peace of mind. But don't just think about big meals. Small, calorie-dense snacks like trail mix, granola bars, and peanut butter are lifesavers too. They take no prep, give you a quick energy boost, and are perfect for kids. Speaking of kids, don't underestimate the power of comfort foods, crackers, cookies, even a bit of chocolate. In a stressful crisis, a little morale boost can feel like a lifeline. Here's the catch. Storage matters. Keep your food in a cool, dry place away from sunlight and moisture. Rotate it every 6 months to a year, just like you would with your water supply. And don't forget dietary needs. If someone in your home has allergies, plan around that now, not when it's too late. Bottom line, food isn't just about filling your stomach. It's about survival, energy, and even morale. If you don't plan ahead, you're gambling with your future. Now that brings us to something most people overlook. But it might be just as important as food and water. Because here's the question, when the power's out, your phone battery is dead, and the internet's gone. How are you going to know what's happening outside your door? That's where your next survival essential comes in. An emergency radio. FEMA specifically recommends one that's battery-powered or even better, has a hand crank and solar charging. This isn't just a nice gadget, it's a lifeline. Why? Because in a disaster, information is power. Radios give you real-time updates from the National Weather Service, local authorities, and emergency broadcasts. And that information can literally save your life. Let me paint you a picture. When Hurricane Sandy slammed New York in 2012, whole neighborhoods went dark for days, some for weeks. Relief stations and food shelters were just blocks away, but thousands of people never found them. Why? No power. No internet. No radio. They were cut off completely. That's why having a reliable emergency radio is non-negotiable. It keeps you connected when everything else fails. At the very least, your emergency radio should have 3 power options. First, a hand crank, because when everything else fails, you can still generate power yourself. Second, a solar panel, leave it in the sun during the day, and it quietly charges while you focus on other things. And third, a USB port, perfect for topping it up from a power bank, your car, or even a laptop before the grid completely goes down. The best models don't just stop there. Many come with built-in flashlights, emergency sirens, and even phone charging ports. Radios like the Voyager, the Eaton Sidekick, or the budget-friendly Running Snail are all solid, tested options. And here's a tip, keep your radio in an easy-to-reach spot, like your emergency kit or a central location in your home, not buried in a closet. And don't just stash it and forget it, test it once in a while. The worst time to find out it doesn't work is when you actually need it. Here's the bottom line, when the lights go out and the world goes quiet, an emergency radio is your link to the outside. It's not a luxury, it's survival. Now let's talk about something most people don't want to imagine. Injuries during a disaster. No one likes to think about it, but here's the harsh reality. When chaos hits, hospitals can overflow, roads may be blocked, and professional medical help might not reach you for hours, or even days. That's why your first aid kit is non-negotiable. Think of it as your personal emergency room, when the real one isn't an option. And no, I'm not talking about a flimsy box of Band-Aids from the drugstore. A proper kit should go far beyond the basics. Sure, you'll need bandages, gauze, tape, and antiseptic wipes. But you also want antibiotic ointments, scissors, tweezers, non-latex gloves, and pain relievers like ibuprofen or acetaminophen. Toss in a thermometer and some burn cream too. But here's where most people miss the mark, the extras. Burn gel is a game changer. During blackouts, house fires, or even something as simple as boiling water in the dark, burns happen more often than you think. Cooling gel can prevent infection and speed up recovery. Over-the-counter meds are another must. Antihistamines for allergic reactions, antidiarrheals for stomach issues, cold medicine for fevers. In a long-term emergency, these minor problems can become major threats. And here's a critical one, prescription meds. If anyone in your household relies on them, ask your doctor about an extra 30-day supply. Pharmacies might be shut or unreachable, and running out in the middle of a disaster isn't just inconvenient, it's dangerous. There's also something people rarely prepare for: infection control. In disasters, clean water is limited, and even the smallest cut can spiral into something life-threatening. Stock extra antiseptics, sterile tools and gloves to keep wounds clean, and remember, medications expire, so check your kit regularly and replace what's old. Bottom line, Your first aid kit isn't just a box of supplies, it's your family's lifeline when help can't reach you. Don't skimp on it. And now, let me introduce a survival tool that's so small, people laugh it off until they realize it can literally save lives. A whistle. I know what you're thinking. A whistle? Seriously? But imagine this. You're trapped under rubble after an earthquake, stuck in floodwaters, or buried by debris in a tornado. Your phone is dead, your voice is gone from yelling, and rescuers have no idea where you are. A whistle cuts through the chaos. It's piercing, loud, and unlike your voice. It doesn't tire out. It could be the one sound that tells rescuers, I'm here, don't give up. A whistle says one thing loud and clear, I'm here, come find me, and history proves how powerful that tiny sound can be. During Hurricane Katrina, thousands of survivors were trapped in attics or stranded on rooftops, surrounded by floodwaters. First responders searched neighborhoods by boat and helicopter, but the roar of engines and the chaos drowned out human voices. People screamed until they were hoarse, and still no one heard them. But those who had whistles, their sharp, unmistakable signal cut through the noise and carried across the water. It got attention. It got results. Not all whistles are equal, though. If you're adding one to your kit, and you should get one that's loud, I'm talking ear-piercing loud, look for models that reach 100 decibels or more. Many come with lanyards or clips, so you can keep them around your neck, on your keychain, or strapped to your bag. And here's a smart move. Don't stop at just one. Keep a few, one in your emergency kit, one in your car, and one on you at all times. And here's a pro tip, practice. In a high-stress moment, you don't want to fumble, panic, or forget how to use something so simple. Show your family members, especially kids, how and when to use it. It might feel silly now, but in a real disaster, every second counts. A whistle could be the difference between being overlooked and being found. Don't underestimate it. Now let's move from sound to something even more invisible, but just as deadly, the air you breathe. We don't think twice about air, until suddenly it's filled with smoke, dust, or toxic debris. That's why dust masks, or even better, N95 respirators, are a must-have in your emergency kit. FEMA recommends them for a reason. When disaster hits, the air itself can turn into a silent killer. Think about it. Wildfires fill the sky with choking smoke and ash. Earthquakes release clouds of dust and concrete particles. Chemical spills or industrial accidents can send toxic fumes into neighborhoods. Even pandemics make every breath a potential threat. Breathing that stuff in isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Here are your options. At the very bottom of the list, you've got basic dust masks, the cheap kind you find at hardware stores. Better than nothing, but honestly, not great. They'll block large particles, but they're useless against fine smoke, ash, or microscopic pathogens. Next are surgical masks. You know, the blue ones everyone wore during the pandemic. They're mainly designed to protect others from your droplets, not to filter the air you're breathing in. Decent for mild use, but not ideal when the air itself is poisoned. If you're serious about protection, and you should be, go for N95 respirators. These are designed to filter out 95% of airborne particles, as small as 0.3 microns. That includes smoke, dust, bacteria, and even viruses. The key, though, is the fit. An N95 only works if it forms a tight seal around your nose and mouth. If air sneaks in from the sides, it's nearly useless. And if you're buying for kids, make sure to get child-sized masks. Adult ones won't protect them properly. Here's a tip that could make all the difference. Don't just buy masks. Learn how to wear them. A badly fitted N95 gives you false confidence, and in a disaster that mistake could cost you. Storage matters too. Keep your masks in a cool, dry place, and check the expiration dates. Yes, they expire. The elastic bands can weaken, and once they snap, the mask can't form a seal. In a disaster, clean air can become rarer than bottled water. A simple mask could protect your lungs, your health, and maybe even your life. Don't wait until the sky is filled with smoke to realize you should have packed one. And now let's talk about something that might surprise you. 2 ordinary household items that could turn into your DIY survival shield. Plastic sheeting and duct tape.